When it comes to wanting a proper Luxo barge from Lexus, it really only comes down to two vehicles, the LS, which rest in peace, and now solely the LX. And nowadays, of course, the concept of luxury has completely changed, from having ultimate simplicity, comfort, and refinement, to now having something with all the bells and whistles that you could think of, all that leather and hopeful refinement, but more microprocessors than the whole camera I'm filming with. So this week we have been bequeathed with the ultimate opportunity of spending time with the Lexus LX, the pride and joy and dream car of many people for over 2 decades. In this case, we happen to have the most powerful LX, the 700H. So I wanted to find out if the new LX lives up to the expectation of the LX 470 and 570. So without any more dilly-dallying, let's do it. Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to the Lexus LX 700H. We last saw the 700H at its national press preview in Napa Valley, California. I got to drive the Overtrail and see how it performed off-road, and also the most expensive LX, the Ultra Luxury. But today we're a little bit more modest. If you didn't know, this marks the 4th generation of the Lexus LX. This first came out for the 1995 model year as the LX 450, and it featured a 4.5-liter inline-six. It was of course based on the Toyota Land Cruiser, which of course existed before the LX. And once the LX was born, it really shocked the automotive world by storm. And as you can see, 2 decades later, we have this all-new 6-cylinder, once again, LX 600 and 700H. These were introduced to the public in October of 2021 for the 2022 model year. And of course, just like how a lot of new vehicles are, it caused quite a controversy in the Toyota world. For 2 generations, the LX has had a V8 engine, both velvety, smooth V8 engines that offered adequate power. People complained about the power, but dead fast reliability, especially with the 4.7. And now, like I said, after 2 generations, the LX has gone back to 6 cylinders with a new 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, now available with a hybrid as of last year. Toyota also used to offer both the full-size Land Cruiser and the Lexus LX, but after the 2021 model year, the Land Cruiser was discontinued and took a brief hiatus until we saw this most current J250 Land Cruiser, which is smaller and based on the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, which is not like this. Now when it comes to a 300 series Land Cruiser like this, in America we can only get it as the Lexus LX, or if you go abroad, or you're some sort of magician, because I've seen one in this country online, there's still an actual 300 series Toyota Land Cruiser. And that's honestly the one that I would still get. Since the full-size Land Cruiser name has died in the United States, the LX has taken over as being Toyota's flagship full-size SUV. Otherwise, if you want to be a little bit more pedestrian, you could look at a Toyota Sequoia. I personally found it interesting that in other markets, you could actually get the LX with a diesel 3.3-liter turbocharged V6. Unfortunately, diesel SUVs and normal passenger vehicles don't sell too well in America. A little over 2 years after its initial introduction, Lexus introduced the LX 700H, the new hybrid. At the same time, they introduced a new Overtrail trim for the LX, which gave this the ability, for the first time in 30 years, triple lockers. The last time you could get a front, center, and rear differential locker on a Land Cruiser or LX was about 1997. Between that, we've just dealt with A-Track, which has been excellent already, but the Overtrail was a great addition to the LX's off-road capability, because from stock, these things are tanks as they are. But the Overtrail added 33-inch tires, full skid plates underneath, slightly different suspension, so it's slightly taller, of course the triple lockers, and the bumpers were slightly altered for a little bit better approach and departure angle. And now a year later, we actually have an LX on the soil of my county. While the 2026 LX is out and available on Lexus's website and showroom floors, this one is a 2025. In particular, this is a 2025 LX 700H Luxury in atomic silver, a very pretty and non-offensive color for Lexus. However, I have to say, I'm a sucker for Nori Green. That would be my dream LX. And you guys know my dream 700H would be an Overtrail. This one, being the luxury trim, gives it these big 22-inch alloy wheels, upgraded semi-aniline leather for the front and rear. The front seats have a little bit more range of adjustment, and they also heat, cool, and massage. The second row seats are heated and cooled. We also get an even higher quality Mark Levinson audio system in here, and then a 2400 watt power outlet in the trunk, which can actually power quite a bit of things. This one was also optioned with the appearance package, so it makes it a little bit more sporty. Oh, it's raining. But it gives you this dark grille, the dark mirror caps, the dark door handles, and the dark window trim. It's just kind of a blackout package, but you could still choose an F Sport, which has even more blackout things. All of that gives this thing an MSRP of $121,000, as you see it sitting right next to me. When it comes to competition for the new LX, I would have to say this is now a cross-shoppable vehicle. I honestly think in the past, if you were looking for an LX, you know what you were buying. You wanted something that was reliable, comfortable, and not too ostentatious compared to things that were out back in the day. Nowadays, I feel like it's a different story. Everything is going for the glitz and glam to catch people's attention. Nowadays, we have things like its main rival, the new Infiniti QX80, which I have yet to drive, the Mercedes-Benz GLS, the full-size Range Rover, the BMW X7. Thank goodness Cadillac is still making the Escalade with a petrol engine as well. And if you wanted to be a little bit pedestrian, you could get a Lincoln Navigator as well. But all these big SUVs are in a similar price bracket. When it comes to the LX itself, this thing starts at $107,000 with a base LX 600, so non-hybrid. The LX 700H starts at $115,000. You can start at the Overtrail for really $116K, then the F Sport handling for $118K, the luxury like this one for $120, and then the ultra luxury trim with all the bells and whistles and the fancy rear seat that everyone dreams about. That one is $142,000. And then if you really want to feel like a Japanese Yakuza mobster, you can get an armored Lexus LX, but not from Lexus themselves. There's a few aftermarket companies that sell these for between $180,000 to $200,000. But if that's what you want, you can get it. So unlike the past, for the first time ever with this 4th gen, you can now choose between 2 engine options in the LX. I guess I'd say 2 powertrain options because it's the same engine. You could get the 600, which is not hybrid, or the 700H like this, which is hybrid. You might think that the hybrid gives you Prius-like economy, but in something this big, you're not getting that. I introduce to you the V35A FTS, a new engine from Toyota. This engine was first introduced in the LS500 for the 2018 model year. This engine has also been the talk of the town recently as well. But it's a 3.4-liter twin turbocharged V6. It's port and direct injected, thankfully. And because it's the 700H, it's paired to a 36 kilowatt electric motor between the engine and 10-speed automatic transmission. What makes this hybrid more acceptable than a lot of other new hybrids is that Toyota still kept the starter and alternator, so if this thing has an electrical issue on the trail or anywhere, you can still drive this as a normal LX 600. But with the hybrid system, this gives us 457 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. Of course, power is going to all 4 wheels through the 10-speed auto and full-time 4-wheel drive in the LX. Unlike some of its competition though, even though this thing is full-time 4-wheel drive, you still have the option of 4-low as well. Some other vehicles only give you the option of all-wheel drive, and that's it, with their different terrain modes. Of course, because it's a Land Cruiser, we still have all the terrain modes that we would think of in this, like Toyota's multi-terrain select that lets you go through mud, sand, and rock, and there's an auto mode. That's essentially what the A-Track system is in the older Toyota 4Runners, Tacomas, FJs, and the other body-on-frame stuff. It's a very capable system, but in this modern version, it's even quieter and smoother. This also has crawl control from Toyota. I know other brands are doing this as well, but that's pretty much like an off-road cruise control. So if you're either stuck in a messy situation, or if you're scared, this thing will drive itself out of certain situations for you. Also, something I like that Toyota has brought over from the 200 series Land Cruiser is the turn assist feature. So when you're in 4-low and crawl control, this thing will lock up one of the rear wheels to make this pivot in a corner. We would have seen all the technology of the 4x4 system if we had the Overtrail one, but with these big wheels, this is the most dirt that is going on. Even though this is a hybrid, you're not gonna get extraordinary fuel economy from this, unfortunately. But for something that's 6,000 pounds, this is what you're gonna get. Lexus rates this motor at 19 in the city, 22 on the highway, and a combined rating of 20. And the way how I've been driving this around town, I've been getting 17, 18 mpg. I know it's just for emissions, but it is still weird and sad. It's also sad, thankfully not for the LX's case, at least as of yet, but this V35A FTS has been a bit troublesome in the Toyota Tundra, and a bit is an understatement. I myself am in a few Facebook groups that include the Tundra and Sequoia, and I keep seeing people with random engine issues that either need repair or replacement, so I don't know. It is promising that in the LS500 I haven't really heard anything, so I think it might have been a quality control issue than anything, but time will tell what this engine does at 150, 200,000 miles. Now I know the new LX looks big, and it is. This thing sits at 200.6 inches long. However, it's only 3 inches longer than the Lexus GX550, which to me puts this in an interesting position because the GX is less money and it's kind of similar. Aside from that though, this is the same length as the outgoing or previous LX570, so it really hasn't grown too much. The GX has grown more. As you can see, this luxury trim is riding on these big 22-inch alloy wheels. It's really crazy seeing the big wheel sizes of nowadays, because before, the old LX used to ride on 16-inch alloys, and that thing rode like a cloud. This thing will try to ride like a cloud with these big wheels, because this has 4-corner adaptive suspension. So depending on what drive mode you're in comfort mode, it can be very soft, and in sport mode, it can limit body roll and be quite firm. Just like the old LX and Land Cruiser, this also features Toyota and Lexus's active height control. So this has 4-corner adjustable suspension. So you can not only raise, but also lower your LX 700H to your desired ride height. And of course, when you go in 4-low and any of the off-road modes, it will go at its highest position by default. This thing is really loaded with all kinds of technology. Something though, I know this is the luxury trim of the LX. The GX550 is available with metal rock rails to protect the rocker panel, but not the LX. So I'll say it right here, I would personally not get the 700H because I was so disappointed with how the trunk was. I know this isn't going to pertain to everybody, but I use the trunk in my SUVs often. This does have a hands-free tailgate. The key is on me, but I'm just going to do it myself. Honestly, as you can see here with the third row up, it's kind of frustratingly useless. There's only 7.9 cubic feet of volume behind the third row seat. There is this tray that is removable and it makes the floor flat when you fold the seat. And as you can see, it's a power folding third row. But it's not one touch, that's okay. A big reason that this is going on with the 700H is because the battery pack is actually underneath the third row and the cargo area. So you do lose quite a bit of volume back here with the hybrid. So that's why I just get a normal 600. With the third row seat down, you get 31 cubic feet of volume. And then if you fold the third row and second row flat, then you only get about 65 cubic feet of volume. So this has been frustrating to me because you get the interior volume of a station wagon, but for something this huge, smaller SUVs get more space in here than this. However, if you want to tow with your LX, you certainly still can. Amber turn signals. But Lexus rates the 700H to tow 8,000 pounds, and thankfully this has an included factory trailer brake controller. So it still is a truck at its roots. There's just a lot of things in it. Of course, a necessity for all 3-row SUVs is the ability to easily enter and exit the third row, and thankfully Lexus has thought of that for the LX. And they've simplified it even more by providing us with one button at the very top of the seat, and then if you press it, the seat will fold like this. By itself. Now thankfully you can hop into the third row on either side with this one-touch solution. And then it gives me a whole lot of space to get back here. But as you can see, this is really for children. I'm 5'9" myself, and then let me pull this down. And then it can recline. give these people some comfort. I have a phone holder in the middle between both of these seats, but my knees are way high. This is the typical body-on-frame SUV third row. If I sit back, my face probably does disappear in the camera, but you can see my hair does brush against the ceiling. So if you're taller than me, 6-foot people are not gonna fit back here. And then you can just see how high my knees are. Thankfully, I do have some leg room, so that's okay. And the seat itself is soft. These third row seats are able to power recline. Not by much though. So really I would not be getting an LX for the third row. I do like that there's a USB-C port on both sides for the third row and 2 cup holders. So they have all the accommodations except the size itself. Now, thankfully, the second row seat is a little bit easier to get into. We have grab handles, the running boards, and it's not too high off the ground because it has its easy entry and exit mode. This thing does feel like a nice solid vehicle inside. I'm honestly glad it still feels like a tank back here. The second row feels very nice, especially in this luxury trim. Again, I'm 5'9", and you can see thankfully I have plenty of space. If I sit normally, I have plenty of headroom, and then I also have plenty of legroom as well. And the driver's seat is about how I would sit. So it definitely isn't huge in here, but it really will be an accommodating SUV for 4 adults. The ultra luxury trim has a fancy middle seat, so it's only captain's chairs, but this one has the full bench, thankfully. So if you wanted to put your in-laws through agony, you could put them in that third row. Of course, because it's an LX, we would expect amenities for the second row. I have an armrest here, which is, it's actually pretty soft, and then 2 cup holders. Behind the center console, you can see we have 2 air vents, and you can see both rear passengers have their own climate control zone. This has quad zone climate control. Also, the 2 outboard seats are heated and ventilated. Thankfully, we have physical controls back here for the climate, so it's nothing like a screen or any type of nonsense like that. And then underneath that, there's this beautifully soft open and close flap that shows these 2 USB-C ports. Thankfully, there's also air vents in the headliner, so the rear passengers won't be suffocating on hot days. Of course, because this is a luxury SUV, we do have peasant blockers, so you don't have to see the commoners outside. The rear seat itself is pretty comfortable. It is the upgraded semi-aniline leather. Of course, it still feels great, very premium. It's perforated leather, but we don't have things like fancy piping or stitching in the back, and this thing is an expensive car. I would kind of expect that, you know? Like, it looks nice, but it doesn't look nice, you know? It does have beautiful real wood trim that really does look nice, and I love the different colors on the door card. And most of the materials that you'll feel in the cabin will be soft touch. One thing that redeems itself to me is that you can open the center console, which is a cool box, from the rear seat by this button. So you can open it from all 3 areas of the car, except the third row. Now we can finally drive the LX 700H on the soil of my county. So again, welcome to the interior of the LX 700H. Again, I really do love the color combination that Lexus has put in this car, especially this one. There's a lot of soft touch materials all along the dash, around the center console area. The armrest is pretty soft. The driver's and passenger side door card is also pretty soft. So it does feel nice in here. And I will say it does feel a little bit nicer in here than the GX550. You can first see this beautiful 3-spoke leather and wood wrap steering wheel. It is heated, but only on the sides and the very bottom of the wheel. But everywhere on the wood, it's not. But I really love the wood. It reminds me of the hardwood floor in a house. Before I get too distracted, let me show you the key fob for the LX 700H. This is Lexus's modern key fob. We have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and the panic button. Classy, not too big, not too small, not too many buttons on it either. But because of this, we have the smart key access system. You can grab any of the 4 door handles in this model, and then it'll unlock or lock the vehicle. And then we can start this by keeping this anywhere inside the vehicle, putting our foot on the brake, and pressing the power button to go. So there's a lot of things about this interior that I do like, more about the materials and the sensory experience, but there's also some things that bother me. The main thing is this 2-screen thing, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Going back to the steering wheel, again, it really feels nice. Of course, it's power tilt and telescoping. The buttons on the left side control some of the audio controls, as well as allow you to configure the gauges. And of course, we have full digital gauges, and there's a lot of customization in the gauges, thankfully. It is a little bit fumbly to use, but I feel like Lexus will revise that in this more current version of their infotainment and gauges. The buttons on the right mainly control the cruise control functions, as well as the track forward and backward buttons for the audio. You can also see we have paddle shifters on both sides of the wheel. In my week with this, I really haven't used the paddle shifters at all. And then as we can see behind the steering wheel on the left, the headlights are automatic and the wipers are rain sensing automatic as well. And in between all that, you can see we have this Toyota Lexus driver attention monitor. Thankfully, in this thing, it hasn't been as annoying, but some of the other Toyota products I've been in, this is too sensitive. If I'm just driving like this with a slouch, it'll give me, it'll beep and warn me. And again, the gauges are pretty nice. Full digital display on all LXs. Quite a bit of information, especially considering this is a truck, so I do like that. And this also has a heads-up display, which is pretty clear. I guess we can get going now and see how this thing drives. Welcome to the driving experience of the 700H. This guy has been waiting, well, watching. He's a viewer, we'll hope. Honestly, in terms of the driving experience, it's really been a pleasure. Upon first impressions, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is a nice truck. It has a very tall and upright ride. It feels pretty solid. I haven't taken this off-road because, you know, it's got these big 22-inch wheels on it, but otherwise it really feels like a tank. The steering has a nice light weight to it, thankfully. I don't have any complaints about that. Around parking lots, this thing is very easy to maneuver. Oh, good. And honestly, I have not been a hater directly of this engine because now this is the new normal. But I actually do like this engine. It sounds good. And then it has a whole lot of power, that 583 pound-feet of torque, you really do feel it. So it's a very competent powertrain, and this one being the hybrid gives you a little bit more juice, thankfully. The only thing I would say about this hybrid system is at lower speeds, sometimes it's clunky. Just the transition between electric and gas. But as you can see, as you just trundle down the road, it really rides smooth. I do notice the big 22-inch wheels give it a more jittery ride, but this thing having its hydraulic adaptive suspension, it does absorb bumps very well, but if it was on smaller tires like that Hummer, it would ride like a cloud. It really would. You really don't get much road noise at all. It's very isolated from the road. Really does feel like a luxury SUV if you're driving it. But for me, if I was to buy one of these, I would put it on 18-inch wheels. Or 19s at most. At lower speeds, the engine will cut off and then it will go in EV mode, but you can't actually put this into a dedicated EV mode. It doesn't have enough electric propulsion to do that. I do like that off-road, this will still work in electric mode, even in 4 low. But I like the deep gurgle in this. It doesn't have like a pumped fake engine sound noise in here. It's just raw engine noise. Toyota stopped doing that, thankfully. You'll notice that it's jittery on a lot of different road surfaces. I noticed this with a lot of the new Toyota SUVs, and I'm in comfort mode. Most of the time I've been driving this, I've been in comfort mode. It's very easy on the throttle. It's the least kind of, herky-jerky at lower speeds. It's just very smooth. Even the steering has still a good response to it, but it's just a little bit more laid back. Of course, it adjusts the suspension as well, so it is softer. You do notice it if you're pushing it around a corner, notice a little bit more body roll, but it never loses its composure, regardless of what drive mode you're in. The brakes have been pretty solid. I appreciate these new age Toyota truck brakes because they're responsive, very impressive stopping power. At least to me, nothing sporty, but it's just a very reassuring pedal. So my main issue with this thing is the head unit situation. As you can see, it's a 2-screen setup. The top screen mainly controls, the main UI of the car. As you can see here, the main Lexus interface, it goes into all of that, and then the factory navigation and all that. And then the bottom screen just kind of controls some of the climate controls, and then it's more like a status screen. It's just an unnecessary screen to me. A lot of the things that are in the screen here could be in the gauges. Either that or physical buttons. It's not like it's that many more buttons. For example, there's a climate concierge button, which actually does work very well. It configures the climate to how you would like it to be, and if it's hot or cold outside. But there's real estate for other more useful buttons, I would imagine. I just like myself a good button. Most of the time when I have to use this little screen, it's more distracting than anything because I have to kind of squint and look at how to adjust the fan speed. I guess it's because they want you to press the climate concierge button so it does everything for you, but I like to be in control of things too. But for being a big truck, it still rides well. It feels rear-wheel drive. This, provides a little bit more power to the rear end. For a big car, it really does drive well, and it feels like it's smaller than it is. You do notice the width of it, but I'm just driving like I'm relaxed with this. After a few minutes of driving, these are so easy to get used to. But I just still haven't gotten used to that lower screen, so I don't like it. I do like the top screen, Toyota's connected services system. This is the now outgoing model, because now there's a new version that's very, very good. This has been fine. It's just kind of on the dull side in terms of colors and things, but again, I just mainly use Apple CarPlay. This does wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so there's no problem with that. The 10-speed shifts very smooth. I don't feel what the transmission is doing most of the time. So for the most part, I do feel pretty isolated from the drivetrain, and the engine really provides V8-like power. And I like the sound. Like, I'll go into Sport. This has a Sport S Plus. The steering is more, sharp, but let me just do it. Yeah, this thing really picks up. And then in sport mode, thankfully, a lot of that body movement is eliminated. It's not completely gone, but it's much better. Chirped. It's just a crazy surge of power, and then you don't feel the speed that you're going either. I get that with a lot of new cars, but it's a very strong feeling in the pedal, which I like. But I don't have any desire to put it in manual mode. In high school, I looked at a V70R here. It's the Lewis Motor Company, if you're ever in this part of Maryland. I haven't been there in a long time, but they might have something interesting for you. I have an itch to do a Russian U-turn. This thing has, thankfully, a tight turning circle. It's smooth. I like that 5.7 in the old one, and I like the 4.7 in the older one. But, if you want something brand new, this is a good powertrain. You'll be satisfied. This thing, though, in terms of MPGs, Lexus says 19 combined. This is the hardest that I've been driving this thing. Otherwise, I've just been driving it like the land yacht it is, and I've been getting 17.5 mpg. This is better. I will say this is better than what you'd see on average with an LX 570. That will be getting like 13 to 15, but otherwise it's still not as easy to be getting that 20 mpg as you would think. While we're stopped, like I said, in the back seat, this has quad zone climate control. So of course there's two controls for the front passengers. Very easy. Most of them are switches, but the fan speed and the modes are in the screen itself. Underneath that, we have a range of buttons and two knobs. On the left, when you're just in normal 4 high and not off-roading, this mode select dial will default to the drive modes. But if you're in 4 low and you have the center diff locked and you're ready to get dirty, this mode select will be used for the multi-terrain select and also the crawl control. I really think that's a very nice way to simplify switches. And then on the right side, of course, that's the toggle for the 4 high and 4 low. Again, to go in 4 low, you have to put this in neutral first, and then you can select 4 low. You have to be stopped as well. I guess I have to clarify to some people. Down below all that, you can see we have 2 USB-C ports on the right side and then a normal car charger outlet on the left side. And then you can see the control, well, the buttons for the heated and cooled front seats. I like that in this car, compared to some of the other vehicles I've been in recently, I like that I have actual buttons to control the heated and cooled front seats. Something that I wish was a button. It'd be simple if it was on the seat itself, the seat adjustment face itself, to activate the massage function. I have to dig through 2 menus to get to the massage function. I know that's a first world problem, but it's just something that I've run into while I've been living with this thing. You know, for the money that you're paying, there's things that you would hope that it had, you know? Like, I'm glad that Lexus still sells the LX because they got rid of the LS. Well, they're going to. We have the 2026 model and then that's it. The seats in the front themselves are very comfortable. Again, it's nothing that's like, wow. Like, I would see these seats in an RX, which an RX is a nice car, but it's not like I see extravagant piping and stitching, you know? But they are very comfortable. They're supportive. I really haven't had any problems with how they actually feel. I do like that the front seats have thigh extension as well, so I really have been able to get comfortable in this thing. And then again, the front seats heat, cool, and massage. And the massage feature works well. I do have to say I'm very thankful to be driving an LX. Lexus sent me an LX to drive. Thank you. I could really just keep talking on and on and on and on and on, but one other thing, this one has a standard size sunroof. It would be nice to see a pano moonroof in this, but I know it's not, again, something for everyone, but it's something that a lot of its competition has. I just think that this thing is not quite hip with the times yet. This is like new, but still not quite there. Mainly, I think if they just got rid of the 2 screens and made it 1 screen, more simple, it'd be much better. But otherwise, the car is telling me driver attention because I'm blocking it, so it's upset. But I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out with me. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our time with the Lexus LX 700H. I would say I enjoyed my time with this luxury trim. I did appreciate all the accoutrements that this thing adds over the Overtrail. To be completely honest with you, I unfortunately would not buy a new LX. I would prefer the LX 570, and it's just less complicated and more simple. I don't like complicated things, and this thing is complicated. I still cannot get over the infotainment screen in this car. Let me know in the comments if you drive a Lexus LX or a Land Cruiser or anything. You guys know how I am. But I look forward to seeing you all in the comments. I appreciate you all liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, peeps.